The mountains were watching. That's what they say about the Appalachians. Ancient, dense, older than memory, and on Halloween night, when the veil grows thin and the fog rolls down from the peaks like something alive, the mountains remember things we've tried to forget. Tonight, I'm bringing you 10 true encounters. 10 moments when reality cracked open in those dark hollows. 10 stories that still echo through the pines. Some of these were reported to authorities. Others were whispered only once, then buried. But they all happened in the same place, the same mountains, where the trees grow too close together, where cell phones don't work, where people still go missing without a trace. So turn off the lights, lock your doors, and whatever you do, don't look away. Because what you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's memory. The first story begins on a trail that no longer exists on any map. October 30th, 1997. A group of 5 college students decided to hike Deep Creek Trail in North Carolina. It was supposed to be an easy overnight trip. They had tents, food, flashlights, everything they needed, except a way out. By sunset, they realized something was wrong. The trail markers had vanished, not removed, just gone, like they'd never been there. The trees looked different, twisted. The silence pressed against their ears like hands. Then, as darkness fell, they heard it, singing. A woman's voice, clear and beautiful, coming from somewhere deep in the woods, singing an old hymn. One of the students, Amanda, recognized it from her grandmother's church. Amazing Grace! But the voice wasn't moving. It stayed in one place, distant, unchanging. They made camp, tried to ignore it, but the singing continued, hour after hour, the same verse, over and over, never stopping for breath. At 2:17 in the morning, Amanda's tent mate woke up to find her gone. Her sleeping bag was still zipped. Her boots were still there, but Amanda had vanished. They found her at dawn, standing at the edge of a cliff they hadn't seen before, eyes open, arms at her sides. Still, so still, like a statue. When they pulled her back, she didn't resist, didn't speak. Her lips were moving silently, forming words. The same verse of Amazing Grace. She never spoke again after that night. The doctors called it catatonia, psychological break. But her family knew better. Because sometimes, late at night in the hospital, the nurses would hear her singing that same verse in a voice that wasn't quite hers anymore. Before we continue deeper into these mountains, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell. Because here at Chills from Reality, every story leaves a mark. One you might not forget. And trust me, you'll want to know how these stories end. The second encounter happened in Tennessee, October 2003. A park ranger named Michael Patterson was doing a routine patrol near Cades Cove. The sun was setting. Most tourists had left, but his radio crackled with a report. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, spotted walking alone near the old cemetery. He found her exactly where the report said, standing perfectly still among the gravestones, wearing an old-fashioned white dress, bare feet, pale skin. He approached slowly, asked if she was lost, if she needed help. She turned to look at him and smiled. "We've been waiting for you," she said. Michael felt ice crawl down his spine. "We?" The girl pointed behind him. He turned. Dozens of them, children, standing between the trees, all wearing old clothes, all perfectly still, all staring at him with the same empty smile. He ran, got back to his truck, locked the doors, called for backup. But when the other rangers arrived 20 minutes later, there was nothing there. No children, no footprints, nothing. Except for one thing. On his windshield, written in what looked like condensation, a single word. Soon. Michael Patterson quit the next day. He never went back to those mountains. And he never explained what that word meant. But sometimes, when people ask him about it, he just shakes his head. "They're still waiting," he whispers, "and one day they'll stop." The third story takes us to West Virginia. Halloween night, 2008. A family was driving through the mountains. Mom, Dad, 2 kids in the back. They'd been to a festival in a nearby town. They were heading home. The road was empty, dark, winding through the trees like a black ribbon. Then their daughter, Emily, 8 years old, pointed out the window. "Why is that man following us?" The father looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing, just darkness and trees. "There's no one there, honey." But Emily insisted. "He's running next to the car, right outside my window." The mother turned to look, saw nothing, but then she noticed something. Emily's window was fogged up, like someone was breathing on it from the outside. While they were going 50 miles an hour, the father accelerated 60, 70. The mountain road was dangerous, but fear had taken over. Emily started crying. "He's smiling at me. Why is he smiling like that?" Then suddenly, a sound, a hand, slapping against Emily's window. Once, twice, 3 times. Hard enough to make the glass shake. But when they looked, there was nothing there. They drove for another 20 minutes in terrified silence. Finally, reached their house, rushed inside, locked every door and window. The next morning, the father went to check the car to see if maybe he'd imagined it all, if maybe it was just a branch or a bird or anything rational. But on Emily's window, on the outside, were 3 handprints, pressed into the glass, from someone running. At 70 miles per hour, the prints are still there. The family moved away, sold the car to a dealer who sold it to someone else. But every new owner reports the same thing. Sometimes, late at night, they hear tapping on that window, like something is still trying to get in. The 4th encounter is different, quieter, but somehow worse. October 2012. A woman named Sarah Chen rented a cabin in the Smoky Mountains. She was a writer, needed isolation, needed silence to finish her novel. She got more silence than she wanted. The cabin was old, 1 room, a wood stove, no electricity, no phone signal. Perfect. For the first 3 days, everything was fine. She wrote during the day, read by candlelight at night, listened to the wind move through the pines. But on the 4th night, she noticed something. The silence had changed. It wasn't just quiet anymore. It was empty, like the forest itself was holding its breath. No insects, no birds, no wind, just nothing. She tried to sleep, couldn't. The silence was too heavy, too present. Then at midnight she heard it. Footsteps on the roof, slow, deliberate, walking back and forth for hours. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. When dawn came, the footsteps stopped. She went outside, looked at the roof. No footprints in the dust, no marks, nothing. But that night, they came back. And the night after that, always starting at midnight, always the same pattern, back and forth, back and forth. On the 7th night, Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed her flashlight, went outside, shined the light on the roof. Nothing. But the footsteps didn't stop. They were still there, walking back and forth, right above where she was standing, even though nothing was there. She left the next morning, told the rental company about the footsteps. They sent someone to check. The inspector found something. The cabin's roof had been replaced 3 years earlier. But before that, there had been an accident. A maintenance worker had fallen, hit his head, died instantly. He'd been walking back and forth on the roof, checking for leaks. At midnight, when he fell, would you have stayed? Would you have tried to ignore those footsteps? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes I wonder if leaving is even enough. The 5th story brings us to Kentucky, October 28th, 2015. A group of friends decided to explore an abandoned mining town deep in the mountains. The town had been deserted since the 1930s. Just empty buildings and rusted machinery. A ghost town in the truest sense. They arrived at dusk, started exploring, taking photos, making jokes about ghosts and haunted places. Then Marcus, one of the friends, found something. A journal? Sitting on a table in one of the old houses. Like someone had just left it there. The pages were yellowed but intact. The handwriting was neat. Careful. He started reading entries out loud. They were from 1932. A miner's diary. Talking about strange sounds in the tunnels. Workers disappearing. Something moving in the darkness below. The last entry was dated October 31st, 1932. They're coming up tonight. I can hear them scratching. If anyone finds this, don't go down there. Don't let them reach the surface. Seal the tunnels. Burn this place before it's too... The entry ended mid-sentence. Marcus closed the journal. Everyone laughed nervously. It was creepy, sure, but probably just some old story. Some prank from decades ago. Then they heard it. Scratching. Coming from below the floorboards. Slow at first, then faster. Like dozens of hands scraping against wood, against stone, trying to reach them. They ran, got to their cars, started driving. But as they left, Marcus looked back at the town. Every window in every building had a face pressed against it. Pale, hollow-eyed, watching them leave. He blinked. The faces were gone. When they got home, Marcus realized he still had the journal. He'd grabbed it without thinking. He wanted to throw it away, burn it, but something stopped him. He opened it again. There was a new entry, in his handwriting, dated today. We heard them. They're awake now. They know we were there. They're coming up. If anyone finds this... He threw the journal away that night. But sometimes, late at night, he still hears scratching under his floorboards. Getting closer! The sixth encounter happened in Virginia, October 2017. A couple, John and Lisa, were camping near the Blue Ridge Parkway. Experienced hikers. They knew the area well. Set up their tent near a stream, made dinner, watched the stars. Around 11 p.m., Lisa woke up, needed to use the restroom, grabbed her flashlight, walked a short distance from the tent. That's when she saw it. A light. Moving through the trees, bobbing up and down, like someone else was out there with a flashlight. She called out, "Hello?" The light stopped. Silence. Then the light started moving toward her. Faster now, weaving between the trees. She ran back to the tent, woke John. They watched through the tent fabric as the light circled their camp. Around and around, never getting closer, never moving away. This went on for 3 hours. Then, at 2 a.m., the light stopped, right outside their tent. So close they could see the glow through the fabric. And they heard breathing. Heavy, labored, like something was struggling for air. The light began to fade, slowly, like a dying flame, until there was only darkness. They didn't sleep the rest of the night. At first light, they packed up, left. But before they did, John looked at the spot where the light had been. There was a grave marker, old, weathered, barely readable. The date of death was October 31st, 1863. The name was illegible, but at the bottom, someone had carved a message.
Still searching.
John and Lisa never camped in those mountains again, but sometimes other hikers report seeing a light, moving through the trees, searching, always searching. For what? No one knows. The seventh story is brief, but it stayed with me. October 2019. A solo hiker named David was walking a remote trail in North Carolina. The sun was setting. He needed to find a place to camp. He found a clearing, perfect spot, set up his tent, made a fire. As darkness fell, he noticed something. Footprints around his campsite. Fresh ones. Barefoot. Leading into his camp from the woods. Circling his tent. Then leading back into the trees. but he'd been there for 2 hours, hadn't seen or heard anyone. He checked the prints more carefully. They were small, child-sized. Then he noticed something else. The prints leading away from his camp were walking backwards, like whoever made them had been facing him the entire time, watching him, walking away without turning around. David left immediately, hiked in the dark back to his car. He never found out who made those prints or why they were walking backwards. But he never camped alone again. The 8th encounter is one of the strangest. October 31st, 2020. A woman named Rachel was driving through the mountains in Tennessee. Late evening, fog was rolling in. She was alone. Her GPS stopped working, lost signal, but she knew the general direction. Kept driving. Then she saw them. Children standing on the side of the road, 6 of them, maybe 7, all wearing Halloween costumes, but old ones, from decades past. She slowed down. They were just standing there, not moving, staring at her car. She stopped, rolled down her window, asked if they needed help, if they were lost. One of the children, a little boy dressed as a cowboy, stepped forward. "We're waiting for our parents," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "Where are your parents?" The boy pointed down the road, into the fog. "They went to get the car in 1958. Rachel's blood turned cold.
What?
But the children just stared, silent now, watching her. She drove away, faster than she should have. The fog was thick, dangerous, but she didn't care. When she looked in her rearview mirror, the children were still standing there, still watching, still waiting. Rachel reported it to local police the next day. They told her there was no neighborhood in that area, no houses, nothing for miles. But in 1958, there had been an accident. A car full of families coming back from a Halloween party went off the road in the fog, killed everyone inside. 6 children, 7 adults. They found the car weeks later at the bottom of a ravine. The children were still in their costumes. The 9th story happened just last year, October 2024. A park ranger in the Great Smoky Mountains received a call. Hikers reported hearing someone crying. Deep in the woods, off trail. They couldn't find the source, just heard it echoing through the trees. The ranger, a woman named Beth, went to investigate. Followed the sound. It led her deeper and deeper into the forest, areas she'd never patrolled before. The crying got louder, clearer. It was a child, a little girl. Beth called out, said she was there to help. The crying stopped. Silence. Then, from behind a tree, a little girl stepped out, maybe 5 years old, dirty dress, tangled hair, tears streaming down her face. Beth knelt down, asked the girl her name, where her parents were. The girl just pointed, deeper into the woods. Beth followed. The girl walked ahead, never looking back, just pointing, leading her forward. They walked for 20 minutes. Beth was about to call for backup when the girl stopped, pointed at the ground. There was a small grave, old, unmarked, just a pile of stones. Beth looked at the girl. "Who's buried here?" The girl smiled. "Me?" and vanished. Beth stood there, alone, the forest silent around her. She called for an excavation team. They found remains, a child's remains, buried decades ago. From the clothing fragments, they estimated 1920s. The girl was never identified. No missing person reports matched. No family came forward. But other rangers report seeing her sometimes, walking through the woods, crying, leading people to her grave. Like she just wants someone to know she was there, that she existed. The 10th and final story is the one that keeps me awake. October 31st, 2024, last year, last Halloween. A man named Tom was staying in a rental cabin in West Virginia, alone, working remotely, enjoying the isolation. Halloween night, he decided to carve a pumpkin, put it on the porch, light a candle inside, felt festive, nostalgic. He went to bed around midnight, slept soundly, woke up at 3:17 a.m. Someone was knocking on his door. Not pounding, not urgent, just knocking, slow, rhythmic. Knock, knock, knock. Tom got up, looked through the peephole. No one there, just darkness and trees. The knocking continued. He opened the door. Cold air rushed in. The porch was empty. His carved pumpkin was still there, candle flickering. But something was different. The face he'd carved had changed. It was smiling now, a wide-stretched smile he definitely hadn't carved. Tom stepped closer, looked at it carefully. Maybe the candlelight was just making it look different. Maybe shadows were playing tricks. Then the candle went out, and the knocking started again. From inside the cabin, behind him. Tom turned. Every door in the cabin was closed, but the knocking was coming from one of them, the bedroom at the end of the hall. He approached slowly, heart pounding, reached for the doorknob. The knocking stopped. He opened the door. The room was empty, window closed, nothing disturbed. But on the bed, someone had arranged his clothes, shaped them like a person, arms crossed, head on the pillow, like someone had been lying there, waiting for him. Tom left that night, drove straight home. 4 hours, didn't stop. He never found out who arranged those clothes, who knocked on his door, who changed the pumpkin's face. But 3 weeks later, he got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photograph of him, sleeping in that cabin bedroom, taken from the foot of the bed, the night before Halloween, when he was supposed to be alone. The mountains remember everything. Every footstep, every scream, every disappearance. They hold stories in their soil, in their trees, in the mist that never quite lifts. And every Halloween when the veil grows thin, those stories wake up. They walk, they knock, they wait by the side of the road. Some say the Appalachians are haunted, others say they're hungry, that they take people sometimes, change them, send them back different. I don't know what the truth is. Maybe there isn't just one truth. Maybe every story adds another layer, another shadow, another reason to stay away when the sun goes down. What I do know is this. People still go missing in those mountains every year. Experienced hikers, people who know the trails, who know the dangers. They vanish without a trace. And sometimes, years later, other hikers see them, standing in the trees, walking backwards down trails, smiling that stretched smile. Still there? Still waiting? Still part of the mountains now. If this Halloween special made your heart race, hit that like button and subscribe, because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. These mountains are still out there, still watching, still remembering. And maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for you too. Happy Halloween, and whatever you do tonight, don't go walking in the woods. You might not come back the same, or you might not come back at all.